loving ladies, Mia O'Brien, Lauren Brooks, and Taylor Dahl.
Hey, hey.
This is Helmets and Heels
On 1010XL, switched on by First Coast Lighting and Fans. Upscale lighting, fans, and home decor.
Show me what you got, pretty lady.
Well, ladies, we've made it to a Turn the Page Wednesday, so let's focus on the upcoming games, the upcoming schedule for the Jaguars, because looking back is, quite frankly, a little too painful right now.
It's a little sad.
It's the sun is shining, Lauren. We are on to Buffalo. I was going to say Cincinnati, but we're not playing. The Jags aren't playing them this year. The Gators aren't playing them. The Knowles aren't playing Cincinnati, as far as I know, unless, I don't know, they move to the Big 12. We won't talk about that either.
Unless they make a bowl game.
Yeah,
that doesn't look
exactly.
Like
So,
the Jags are in the AFC Championship.
Like I told everyone over at
there
UNF.
we go. There's the positivity I need.
Like I told everyone yesterday at UNF at the Women's Scholarship Luncheon, look, the sun is shining. We haven't seen the sun in 3 weeks in which our area teams have gone 1-7. So I'm just going to chalk it up and say it's a new dawn. It's a new day. So many of you critiqued Trevor Lawrence last year when he tweeted the sun came up after the loss to the Houston Texans in week 3. But guess what? I'm going to echo that again because the Jaguars won 5 straight games after the sun came up after that game. And so I can only hope and pray that the return of Mother Nature will heal the football here in Northeast Florida.
And the one win, I don't even feel like we should count that because the one win between the 3 teams is against Samford. Again, no offense to Samford, but it's not like that's a team that's on the same par as the other teams in the Power 4 conferences. All right, so the Jaguars, as we know, are 0-2. The Bengals are also 0-2, and the Ravens are 0-2. All these teams, obviously, in the AFC. Which one of these teams has the best path to make the playoffs? Do any of them make the playoffs? If you look at their schedules, by far, the Bengals have the easiest schedule with the next 4 games playing host to the Commanders, at the Panthers, playing host to the Ravens. That one's tough. And then at the Giants. So I think schedule-wise, the Bengals would sit here and say, I think we're going to make the playoffs. But that organization, that franchise kind of feels like a little bit dysfunctional right now.
Here's the thing. Of the 3 teams that we've just outlined, the Bengals, the Ravens, the Jags, right? That's who we're talking about.
Yeah.
2 of them play in the same division. That also features a 2-0 Pittsburgh Steelers team, mostly by virtue of who they have played so far. Sorry, Taylor and Justin Fields. And a Cleveland Browns team that, well, yes, the quarterback is a major question mark still. Their defense looks to once again be a top 5 unit in the league once they get rolling. I think that's something that I think we'll look back 10, 12 weeks from now and be like, okay, like as much as that was a disappointing loss for the Jaguars, that is a top 5 unit once again under Jim Schwartz. That is a unit that the Ravens, the Bengals still have to face twice each. And so that is where I think a lot of this argument and your perspective on it has to come from. What do you think of the rest of the division that those 3 teams play in? Because as of now, I understand the big bad Houston Texans are 2-0. The other 2 teams in your division, Jaguar fans, are in the exact same position as you, 0-2. Certainly expectations in Nashville, a little bit different than expectations here.
Worse, though, because of the quarterbacks, wouldn't
correct.
you say?
The reality,
yes, they're all 0-2,
right.
but Will Levis, Anthony Richardson,
correct.
You can't put on the same.
But that's the point. You have to
trajectory as
play
Trevor.
both of those teams twice. The Ravens and Bengals have to play the Browns and the somehow always competitive Pittsburgh Steelers twice.
Yeah, I think that I don't know. When you look at the divisions, to me, the Bengals and the Ravens are both looking at their division as very winnable, too. I think they're looking at the Steelers, like you just said, who haven't played very good opponents. Justin Fields, who has had moments, is not looking like he's this completely revamped quarterback. He looked good in the first half on Sunday, and then it kind of fell apart towards the end. Their defense is keeping them in the games big time. And then when it comes to the Browns, I mean, the Browns shouldn't have won on Sunday, and they aren't some fantastic team either. I don't think they have a couple pieces that I feel like you would pick as wins. So I don't know if you're looking at that division, honestly, right now as one of the better ones in the league either, with the way that they've started, that all of the teams have started their year. And then you come here, and yeah, I think that when you're talking about it looks like you do not have to worry much about the Colts and the Titans, and that's a positive thing. But the negative thing is I don't know if you're making the playoffs without winning the division is kind of my thing. So you have to be able to beat the Texans, and you have to be able to beat some of these other teams. We're talking about 2 tough matches, 2 tough opponents coming up in the next 2 weeks too, and that's not even considering some of these other games down the stretch that we've talked to, the chunk in the middle when it comes to the Packers. By then, Jordan Love will be healthy, and they'll be looks like probably full at that time when you play them too. So there's a lot of things that when you go to, the Athletic actually wrote an article today about this and like the percentage chance of all of the teams. They did everybody who has an 0-2 record right now. And so they had the Ravens. The Ravens to start the season had a 78% chance to start to make the playoffs. It's now from 78 to 41%. The Bengals had a 73%, and it's now down to 44%. And the Jaguars completely plummeted. They had I'm trying to remember the beginning. It went down to 19.
This is per ESPN analytics?
Yes.
Okay.
So they do everything. They look into the opponents you have, the opponent, like your record against those opponents before. There's a lot of numbers. They go into details in this article of all the numbers that they grab. This is from... Yeah, so the Athletic wrote this, but they said, so if you would have asked me about the Jaguars through the first half of week 1, I would have told you that they had a chance to win the AFC South. Unfortunately, since halftime against the Dolphins, the Jaguars have been absolutely dreadful on offense. The poor play has caused their playoff odds to drop from 40 to 19%. Am I worried? Yes, the offense looks broken. I'm not sure what it is, but when you look at New Orleans Saints under new offensive coordinator Clint Kubiak and the Minnesota Vikings with Sam Darnold, you wonder why the Jaguars haven't been able to get more out of their offense with Trevor Lawrence. This has been the second year in a row the Jaguars offense has underwhelmed, and the Jags have actually lost Lawrence's last 7 starts. Either the coaching staff needs to change or you need to start thinking about a quarterback change, and I'm not ready to give up on Lawrence yet.
Yeah, definitely not that.
Yeah.
Just got the contract extension. Look, all 3 of these teams, specifically these 3, are facing, I feel like, do or die games this upcoming weekend / Monday for the Jags. The Ravens take on the Cowboys in Jerry World. I feel like at the beginning of the season, we would have said that, man, that's a game that is going to be fireworks, right? And now seeing what happened with the Cowboys a week ago and what's going on with the Ravens, like I don't know who wins that game. It's not nearly as tough as I would have thought after week 1. Of course, the Bengals, like I said, play host to the Commanders. The Commanders have won so far. Jaden Daniels looks great, but that's a game the Bengals should win.
And they have a negative point differential, by the way.
Right. And then the Jaguars take on the Bills in Buffalo Monday night. And that's a really good team with, I feel like...
Who the Ravens have to face the following week, by the way.
Right. But I feel like that's a team that constantly everyone wants to point to holes in their game, and they just rebuild. And this team, we thought, oh, look at all the additions from the offseason. And yet the Jaguars have gone backwards so far. It's still early.
For those of you watching on YouTube, the reason I smiled when Taylor was rattling off those wonderful stats, don't get me wrong. I mean, it's the reality of the situation if you're a Jags fan. I mean, your odds significantly drop when you start 0-2. But Seth Walder and those boys at ESPN aren't exactly fans of the Jaguars. Let's just put that out there in the universe. And
the Athletic, I mean, put it together.
Like
well, no, the
Athletic,
Athletic,
it's
but
all
they credited,
statistical
right? They credited the statistics of ESPN Analytics, who again aren't necessarily the biggest fans of the Jags in general. So there's that, but also because it's real, it's reality. Yeah. What's also reality is that Joe Burrow and the Bengals have gone 1-9 through the first 2 weeks of the past 5 seasons combined, and no one seems panicked in Cincinnati.
I think that's why, because they've been able to prove they can get out on the other side of it multiple times. And I think that it's weird how the Bengals start slow every single year. Part of it may be that Joe Burrow always ends up getting hurt at some point, and so he's kind of still getting into the rhythm of things with the offense. This year, it does unfortunately seem like there's a lot of things going on outside. Obviously, when you're talking about Jamar Chase and his contract and T. Higgins and his contract, those things really do rattle locker rooms. And when your locker room starts to get rattled, it bleeds out. We've seen that here firsthand when it comes to back to Jalen Ramsey, when it comes to Yannick Ngakoue, all of those things and how it bleeds out into when it's in the locker room, it starts bleeding out into the field if you aren't winning football games. So the Bengals are probably one of the few teams. That's why that number of the 0-2 teams that go is 11%, because there is a small fraction that make it, and the Bengals have been one of the teams to be able to do it. But it's not easy, and that's what I think part of it for the Jags too is most people already had the Texans as the better team in that division, so their percentage of getting in already, because the Bengals and the Ravens and the Chiefs and all of these other AFC teams are all in the AFC that you have to beat. They were already saying, like, if you don't win the AFC South, you're probably not going to get in. So that chance was already only 40% in these analytics. So that does obviously skew it a little bit more to when they had a 74% chance before. And so it's interesting. It's weird when you go through, and that's why I asked Joe the other day, like, which teams are good, because right now when you go through week 1 and week 2, the only what feels like consistency are like the Vikings and the Bucks and the Chiefs, which is a weird 3 teams to list as the 3 that you and the Saints are the 4 teams that you feel like have been the most consistent through 2 weeks. And I don't think anybody would have named those other three outside of the Chiefs.
Well, and the Bengals and Ravens both have what I would consider bad losses.
Yeah.
And while the Browns didn't look great, I still think they're a better team than the Patriots and the Raiders.
Yes. And that brings me to, again, when you look at the teams that are 2-0, the Los Angeles Chargers are that outlier team, and they've played the Las Vegas Raiders and the Carolina Panthers.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're going to have to play another 2-0 team in the Pittsburgh Steelers, so that's a loser leaves town in terms of someone's going to drop their first game of the season, and they're at Pittsburgh, by the way. Then they have to play the Chiefs. More manageable of a stretch with Denver and Arizona, but then all of a sudden you got to play a red-hot New Orleans.
Yeah.
Then you got to play Cleveland, and so the schedule will get more difficult, and the regression to the mean and the balancing act is going to come at some point for the Chargers. Now, for those other three teams, that remains to be seen. I mean, I would think the Pittsburgh Steelers will come back down to earth by virtue of, again, simply I believe in that division and the fact that it had three playoff teams a year ago, and the fourth team was the last team out.
Yeah.
The Steelers are
First team out, excuse me.
frustrating.
They just keep doing it. It's
Everyone
wild.
else, every other team, you have to have a franchise quarterback, and you have to develop around that franchise quarterback and all the things. And here come the Steelers, and they say, we'll take an aging Russell Wilson that sucked with the Broncos, and we'll take Justin Fields, who was discarded off the crap heap, the trash heap, I should say, from the Bears. And you know what? We'll just start 2-0, and nobody's surprised.
Yeah, there's been the like one-off chances of those happening. I mean, like Flacco wins a Super Bowl, and like things like that happen to me, honestly. And I know Nick Foles had some incredible year with the Eagles, but he's never been able to do that again. So like there are
A short stretch, really, because Carson Wentz was the starter for the majority of that year.
Exactly. So it is like you get these teams that get lucky for like a year with that, but the Steelers keep getting, since Ben Roethlisberger, have gotten lucky every year and not being able to really have their set quarterback and kind of mixing things in and out, multiple quarterbacks playing, and they're still able to hit over 500. It's wild, and I think a lot of it is a testament to their defense. They've also been able to keep this defense that keeps them in so many games, which obviously helps. We've talked about how the runoff from the Jags, Jacksonville, and the Bears defense in 2018, and even the Eagles defense 2 years ago was so hard to keep consistent and at that high level. Steelers do it every year. And so that helps. When you have a defense that's scoring for you and getting sacks consistently, TJ Watt is one of the best defensive players in the league. And when you have that, it does alter things. But it is frustrating to watch because you're like, you have the most mid to bad quarterback play for the last few years, and you're still able to win games.
Which of the three is the most desperate going into week 3?
Oh, it has
I'd
to
say
be
Ravens.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I mean, yes, in theory. I think because the Bengals, again, there's this preconceived notion of, well, they've done it once, they can do it again, and everyone's just like fine with it. And it's the Commanders, no big deal. But if they fall to 0-3, I mean, look, I understand they were 0-3 once upon a time in 2021. And they were facing an 0-3 Jaguars team on Thursday Night Football.
Yeah.
I think we all know what happens after that. They go to the Super Bowl, and also, yes, someone stayed behind in Ohio, and we know what happened there. But the fact that we just give the Bengals a pass is, like, shocking to me. It's just like, well, they've done it before, so it's fine. I think the Ravens would be concerned, but the Ravens also recognize the talent they have in the building. I think, at least from a structural standpoint, I would be more concerned if I'm the Jags, just because your offense has sputtered. The Ravens, for all intents purposes, they put up 20 points against Kansas City. If Isaiah Likely moves his toe an inch, they score 27 points. They scored 23 points against the Raiders, and I understand that's a disappointing loss against the Raiders, but you still put up 23 points. This team has yet to put up more than 17 points in this town. And it's supposed to be a totem pole of what brings them to the playoffs is their offense and the generational quote-unquote quarterback that they have. And so that's why I would say the panic button much more real here in Jacksonville than in those other two cities.
Yeah, for me, I say Ravens just because I think the Ravens are coming off an MVP season with Lamar Jackson. You add Derrick Henry. You have a defense that's been a top 3 in the league the last few years. Your window right now to like win the Super Bowl is right now. Nobody was saying that for the Jags. Most people were not saying that for the Jags. Most people had the Texans winning the division. They weren't even expecting the Jaguars to be the winner of their division, let alone win or head to the Super Bowl, and the Ravens did have that mindset. And so to start 0-2 they completely collapsed. Their defense completely collapsed against Gardner Minshew and the Raiders. Brock Bowers had a really good game, so that's an addition we've talked about a ton in this since the draft pretty much, but it's just one of those things. The Chiefs you can shrug off, but you cannot just shrug off a loss to the Raiders the way they ended up losing at the end of the game with all of that talent on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, I would say it's the Jaguars because I think if you were to rank the hot seat, Doug Peterson would be 1, then Zach Taylor, and Harbaugh certainly not ever going to be on the hot seat, at least not for quite some time. But I do think there's a little bit of drama in the building. I think there's some issues there. And so, you know what cures everything? Winning.
Yeah.
Truly.
Winning literally cures everything. And so the Jaguars do have a little bit of extra rest, but of course the Bills have had even more rest heading into Monday night. When we return, me as my bookie picks come your way. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Get the coach's perspective.
Constant improvement, every day, every week.
Doug Peterson joins the Frangie Show Fridays at 4:05.
Build that championship culture.
Brought to you by Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors on 1010XL.
Hey, Jacksonville, Mia here. When it comes to roofing, whether it be shingles, metal, most repairs, there is one name that has protected your home since 1999. Pro Jax Roofing. Serving all of Northeast Florida, Mike and his guys have been repairing and replacing roofs for 25 years. They offer the top warranties in the business and for total peace of mind. Raised in a military family, Mike provides great attention to detail with unparalleled quality and workmanship. Call Mike and the Pro Jax Roofing team today for a free estimate or visit ProJaxRoofingFL.com. That's ProJaxRoofingFL.com.
Hey, Hicken here. I couldn't be any happier than to join the George Moore Chevrolet family. When I say family, I mean it. Visit their beautiful showroom today off Atlantic Boulevard. Find out exactly what I'm talking about. No pressure, just friendly help. And whether you want a car, a truck, SUV, electric, pre-owned, you name it, George Moore Chevrolet has it. And if you can't make it over to Atlantic Boulevard, no problem. MooreChevy.com is easy to navigate as any site you will try. It's never been more easy to use. George Moore Chevrolet. Together, let's drive.
When all you have is a hammer, everything is a nail. I'm Dr. George Bari, and like me, I know you have been bombarded with PRP and stem cell treatments from companies that promise the world and charge prices to match. Or the surgeon that convinced you the only way to treat your injuries through surgery. At Bari Orthopedics, we offer the best PRP treatment on the market with prices that won't cost you an arm and a leg. We also have the expertise to treat your injury surgically, if that is what it entails. We can discuss all surgical and non-surgical options with you and make sure you get the best treatment available. Come see me, Dr. George Bari, at Bari Orthopedics.
This right here is as good as it gets. This is life getting lived without obligations or complications. This is filling your cup and savoring the moment. This is the gift of presence, served to you in a place where there's room for everyone and enough to go around. And the best part, it's always Sonny's here. Sonny's Barbecue, local pitmasters since '68.
It's a Helmets and Heels Kingfish Pest Control Wednesday.
Expert Automotive on St. John's Bluff Road has some of the highest Google reviews in Jax for a reason. Expert Auto never sells greed, only what you need. All makes and models are serviced at Expert Automotive. This month, get an alignment inspection for only $19.99. Expert Auto does major engine and transmission repair and simple maintenance. All services done at Expert Auto by our ASC certified training technicians. Call today, 374-3373, and ask about $50 off any service. Expert Automotive. We never sell greed, only what you need.
The Sunshine State says it all in the nickname. That summer sun in Florida can take its toll on an air conditioning unit and send your electric bill through the roof. Florida Home AC can help you handle the heat with a brand new AC unit with low monthly payments and over $3,000 in federal tax credits on select systems. So this summer, don't sweat it out. Cool off with Florida Home AC, the official AC company of the Jaguars. Call them today, 777-4300, and check out their tremendous savings on a brand new AC system.
Jags Hall of Famer Tony Baselli puts on his gold jacket every Monday morning at 7:20 on The Drill.
Does look good.
It's Hall of Fame Monday with Tony Baselli.
Good? It's great.
Brought to you by Heritage Roofing of North Florida on 1010XL.
Being an athlete means having a healthy desire to do as much as you can with your body. For as long as you can. Gatorade has lower sugar, electrolyte-backed hydration options to keep you rehydrated and replenished. Gatorade, for every athlete.
From Gatorade Zero to Gatorade Endurance Formula and Gator Light, there's something for every athlete. Find it at your local Winn-Dixie. It's a win-win. Gatorade, official partner of the NFL.
Our slogan, Know Before You Blow, applies to more than just DUI cases. Hi, I'm attorney Lee Lockett of Lockett Law. Battery charges can result in jail time and criminal convictions too, so know before you blow a gasket and hit a loved one or a stranger. Drug crimes like possession of marijuana and cocaine will land you in cuffs too, so know before you blow. In a boating under the influence case, you also have the option to blow or not to blow. So know your options. Know before you blow. Go to knowbeforeyouBlow.com now. Offices Jacksonville.
Homeowners, good news for you. Accent on 4. Listen up. Loan Pronto now has mortgage rates that start with a 4. Prosser here. It's true. Mortgage rates have plummeted. So low, we haven't seen them in a long time. If your current rate is over 6%, you can dump it and lower your house payment big time. Loan Pronto just locked in a homeowner at 4.99% APR. So whether you got your loan last week, last month, or last year, it's time to call Loan Pronto. Even if you're in process with another lender, stop now. Call Loan Pronto. Ask about their zero-cost rate reduction home loan. You can lock in a lower rate with no closing costs in a matter of days, with almost no paperwork and usually no appraisal. And if you act now, you can even skip your next 2 house payments. Call now. Loan Pronto can give you a rate quote in minutes with no hard credit pull and no upfront fees like those other guys. Call 904-999-1508 or loanpronto.com. Call 904-999-1508. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781. Owner approved credit, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
New and pre-owned firearms are in stock at Beach's Jewelry and Pawn in Jacksonville Beach. Want a new sidearm or rifle? Brands like Kimber, Smith & Wesson, 6 Hour, Beretta. No lines, no hassle. Only at Beach's Jewelry and Pawn in Jacksonville Beach.
Guys, feeling deflated in the bedroom? ED, low T, no energy? If your stuff is broken, call 904-STROKEN or 904stroken.com. No shots in the first treatment, now free. Fix your ED at 904stroken.com.
1010XL is presented by Farrah & Farrah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
This is Helmets and Heels.
Kept classy by First Coast Lighting and Fans. Upscale lighting, fans, and home decor.
On 1010XL.
Mio, Brian Taylor Dahl, RJ Saunders, I'm Lauren Brooks. This has nothing to do with your MyBookie picks, but last night I watched something that uplifted my soul.
Ooh,
that was Florida versus Florida State in volleyball.
Oh, baby.
Both top 25 teams.
Yeah.
Went to 5 sets. It was so good. The rallies were incredible. Yeah. In the end, Florida won, but even if Florida had lost, I still would have said I'm so glad I watched that. It was so fun, and so Florida State fans, Florida fans, just start watching college volleyball, and that will alleviate your pain just a little bit.
I referenced it yesterday when I joined you guys for the final segment on the phone, but at the UNF Women's Luncheon yesterday, of course, a lot of people were making digs at poor Mayor Deegan, who, of course, graduated from Florida State, and she was like, we're not going to talk about football. And since it was a women's sporting event, that was brought up, the fact that not only is the women's volleyball team out in Tallahassee a top 25 outfit, the women's soccer team, obviously, as we've discussed with Becky Burley, is a top 3 team, really should be, sorry, Georgia, they really should be number 1. I mean, softball, obviously, a perennial powerhouse. And so, just focus on the women's sports maybe a little bit. And,
the Olympic sports, baseball also.
Yep, exactly.
Baseball. And
baseball's
you know what? Standing.
Maybe Leonard Hamilton ages like fine wine once again, and the basketball team gets it together this year. I don't know.
Yeah, all I know is you do at this point in time have to find stuff that's going to at least get your mind off of football, at least for a little bit. I also tweeted this out. I don't know if y'all watched it, but David Pollock talked about his spinal cord injury and how it obviously ended his NFL career and just how it made me feel like sometimes we focus so much on the losses, and there have been a lot around here to detail, but sometimes you do need to remember that it is just a game and that the most important thing is these guys are still healthy and they have a life to live after that, which will get us to our Tua Tagovailoa conversation in a little bit. But right now, Mia, give us some really good odds for this week.
Now, Mia's Midday MyBookie picks. Experience the Vegas thrill from the comfort of your phone anytime, anywhere, only with MyBookie.
So we are not on the air tomorrow due to Jaguars programming. I will not be here Friday as I traverse through central New York. And so ahead of course, Jags Bills, which I will be back here in the Superstation at HQ for. So let's run through some odds on the gridiron for Thursday and Friday, shall we, ladies? We'll make our picks coming up at 1 o'clock for the slate on Saturday. But we've got South Alabama and App State Thursday night football. I don't know if it's the Gibby influence, if it's the Andrew Gibson influence, but I'm going to go with the App State just because we've had the conversation time and time again in light of the aforementioned Florida State Jaguars struggles on the gridiron, that the trenches wins football games. App State, let's be real. There's nobody who you want in a bar fight or who you want on your offensive line and your defensive line than those boys up there.
Eric Church, Luke
in App
Combs,
State.
you'd want them in a bar fight.
You want them in a bar fight. That's who you want in your trenches. So I'm taking App State in this parlay at -7.5 is the spread. I'm also going to play the spread in Friday night's ACC showdown, and maybe it's because I will be up there in Syracuse by Saturday. You know me, ladies. I never like to give those new house folks much credit, but I am going to give Syracuse football credit. I have them as an 8.5-point favorite over Stanford, and that's no knock on Stanford, who has shown signs of life, even if they certainly aren't the David Shaw iteration of the Cardinal. There's another Friday night game in the Big Ten.
I almost put this in our picks, but I decided nobody cares.
This is where I think we need to have a dialogue. We need to start the dialogue. We need to have the conversation with regards to Dylan Raiola, the heralded quarterback recruit, true freshman, 18 years old, starting quarterback for the Nebraska Cornhuskers, grew up a Husker, looks great. The Patrick Mahomes bit is kind of wild.
It's getting a little weird.
I'm a little weirded out by it. I'm a little weirded out by it. I also believe Illinois coming off of, an impressive start for all intents purposes. Let's be real. What are expectations out there in Champaign-Urbana? On the road in Husker territory. Look, it's not easy to win at Memorial Stadium. I kind of like the Illini plus 260 on the money line, just because I believe this will really, no offense to Colorado, this will truly be the first real test for Nebraska. If Nebraska can get past Illinois, I think they start the season 7-0, just looking at their schedule ahead.
Matt Rule has really showed that you can revive a team and a program that has been really dormant for 25 plus years now. And Nebraska was once, for people who don't remember, Nebraska was once the elite of the elite in college football. Florida played a national championship against Nebraska in 1995, and Nebraska is still scoring. It was so lopsided. And then the last 20 years, nobody has talked about Nebraska football. Yeah. They've said, well, can Scott Frost revitalize them because he went there? But outside of that, it's only been about the coach. Dylan Raiola, the fact that he decided to leave Georgia, not leave, but decided to decommit from Georgia and commit to Nebraska has been a game changer for them. And for Florida fans, it can happen. You can be good once again. And again, a lot of season left to play for Nebraska.
But they're the prime example.
They're the hope right now for a lot of people out there.
They're also the prime example, Lauren, of they fired their coach at the end of September, right after 4 games. So if you're looking for a blueprint, go over there to Husker territory, which I know we have at least one Husker hooligan out there who gets upset that I constantly pick against Nebraska. It's mostly just because this is only year 2 of Matt Rule. And who have they really played up to this point? And not that I think a 3-0 Illinois whose wins are over Eastern Illinois, a top 25 at the time, Kansas, that's a story for another time, and Central Michigan, not that I think that is so impressive, but I just think it's more of a veteran squad that Brett Bielema has compared to this young, upstart, 18-year-old quarterback-led Nebraska team. And also because the Patrick Mahomes thing is weirding me out. And finally, let's head on out to the West Coast. I am picking the 2-packs, Wazoo Cougars, 11.5-point favorites over their possible future Mountain West Pac-12 brethren, the San Jose State Spartans. And so we'll pair all 4 of those together in a nice little parlay. Again, that's App State -7.5, Syracuse -8.5 over Stanford. I like Illinois plus 260 on the money line. And finally, Wazoo 11.5-point favorites. Again, mybookie.ag. Get on in the fun. And if you want to look at Thursday night football, the Jets currently 6-point favorites in their home opener over the visiting New England Patriots. There is a special going on right now with double boosts on Thursday, or bet without a sweat on Thursdays, at mybookie.ag. If your bet hits, you win. If you don't, forget about it. They will refund you your money if you bet on Thursdays.
Did I tell you guys about my brother's parlay that he had over the weekend?
You texted me. Yes, you did.
My poor brother. So he did 3 different bets. He had 2 11-leg parlays, but then he had a 30-leg parlay. For 50 cents would have got him $2,000. Florida State was the only miss on the 30-leg parlay.
He picked Florida State to beat Memphis.
To win. Yeah.
He probably should have listened to our show.
I literally texted him. I was like, you should have listened to my
I mean, we're here to help him.
I was there with him. I picked him.
You did.
Listen,
listen to your sister.
Yeah.
Say it like that.
Yeah. Or listen to Nick Saban, who, of course, on College Game Day said he's picking against everything he would have picked because his granddaughter told him, Papa, I think you just got to go with whatever you're thinking it is, go the opposite. And it worked for him because he picked the Tiger stick.
Yeah. Did you see?
He picked Texas A&M. He picked Florida to beat Texas.
Oh, did he?
Though. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't see that. Did you see
Go with your gut when it comes to the Gators.
Pat McAfee feeding Saban the tomahawk steak?
Yeah.
I was like, this show's getting wild now. Saban's like uncomfortable, but trying to ride with it.
I didn't realize McAfee won't be there next year.
Well, he wasn't even supposed to be there this year. So let's talk about Pat. And not just because, he goes up against us in this lovely noon hour time slot, but I genuinely appreciate and admire what Pat McAfee has been able to do in his post-NFL playing career. It is not easy to sit here and talk every day, let alone start your own YouTube podcast that morphs into this juggernaut that he has created that not only airs on ESPN, but he also keeps the money when it comes to their YouTube proliferation and the monetization online. And so I look at what Pat's been able to do there, and I'm extremely impressed. But then you couple that with, and I know this is hard for so many of us to reckon with, Lee Corso will not be on College Game Day forever. Mm-hmm. But he
needs to not be on it now.
Right. I didn't say that, but you need to have who is the next zany person, and you can't force it.
Yeah.
It feels like Pat has been there forever, and just like it feels like Nick Saban's been there forever. The chemistry is there. The zaniness fits perfectly. It's not overdone. I don't think it's over the top, but I also understand, because I was discussing this with friends down at Miami when the Jags played the Dolphins, I understand there's a sector of the population that doesn't get it.
Yeah.
I would equate it to, and I said this to my friend, I would equate this to Le Batard. There are people who get Le Batard or you don't. That's why they say you get the show. I would equate it to The Catcher in the Rye, To Kill a Mockingbird, books that, quite frankly, you either absolutely love it and you think it's the greatest work of art in modern literature,
or you hate it.
Or you hate it,
yeah,
and you just don't get it. And so I feel like Pat is trending towards that, but I appreciate the fact that he creates seamlessly this transition of keeping, maybe not the headgear, but again, a lane of this is silly, but we're having fun and we're also providing insight.
We don't have time for me to get into my complete and total opposite feelings of that.
Listen,
I can't stand him on the show. I think he takes some time away from people who actually know more about football than he does, including Nick Saban, but that's neither here nor there because we have to catch up with Eric Wood, former Pro Bowl center for the Buffalo Bills on the other side. Talk some Jags Bills. You're listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Staying active no matter what your age is key to living life at its fullest. And Rebound Rehabilitation wants you to know they can get you back up to speed and back in the game pain-free. Rebound Rehabilitation with 8 locations across the First Coast, top-of-the-line therapists ready to assist you. From neck and back pain, knee or foot pain, they can help. Excellent patient care combined with the highest quality in rehabilitation services. Look for a Rebound Rehab location near you and get back in the game. Log on, reboundrehab.com.
Now at Hodges Mazda, get ready for an incredible offer and drive home the 2024 Mazda CX-5 with 0% APR for 36 months. Lauren Brooks here. The Mazda CX-5 combines sleek design, advanced technology, and a responsive drive, making it the ideal SUV for your everyday adventures. Discover the Hodges Mazda difference with our non-commissioned sales team who are always focused on putting your best interests first. Plus, you get 2 years of free maintenance, which is fantastic. Visit Hodges Mazda today or shop online at hodgesmazda.com. See dealer for details. Terms and fees for qualified applicants expire September 30th, 2024.
Ever wonder how you can transform your living spaces into captivating works of art? At First Coast Lighting and Fans, they offer a huge selection of high-quality products to match your desire for elegance, quality, and uniqueness. Visit their showroom on Phillips Highway at the Avenues and step into a world of quality without compromise. Discover the difference that locally owned expertise makes and let them help you experience the transformation from average to extraordinary. At First Coast Lighting and Fans.
Mia O'Brien here for my friends at Duck Duck Rooter. If water flows through it, the team at Duck Duck can install it or repair it. From septic tank pump outs, drain field installations, clog drains, water heaters to repipes, they do it all. And they do it well. But don't just take my word for it. Check out the reviews on Google and see what customers just like you are saying about their experience with Duck Duck Rooter. Duck Duck Rooter is a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Visit duckduckrooter.com to schedule service today.
Kingfish Pest Control Wednesday.
Helmets and Heels.
Are you 18 years or older, just got married, just got divorced, or have children? Listen up. Have you done your last will and estate planning? You have questions? Call Matt Hinson with the Hinson Law Firm. Reach him at 527-1700. Office is Jacksonville, Florida. And don't let the state decide your fate.
Mia here, and when I was buying a new construction home last summer, there was no question. Dreamfinders Homes was the builder for me. A big reason why? Their unbeatable interest rates. Right now, you can take advantage of a 2.99% year one rate. Wow. Find your dream home, take advantage of unbeatable rates. Trust me, I asked lenders up and down the East Coast. This is unheard of. And move in today. I'll say it again, 2.99% year one rate. Dreamfinders Homes, the official home builder of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Now, the Hurricane Report. Brought to you by Performance Painting. Prepare, protect, preserve.
The Miami Hurricanes absolutely plastered Ball State on Saturday, 62-0. Cam Ward, 346 yards and 5 touchdowns through the air for the Hurricanes. They outgained Ball State 750-115 and set a new school record for yards in a game. It was also the biggest shutout win over an FBS opponent in Hurricanes history. The Hurricane Report brought to you by Performance Painting.
When pests invade your space, you don't just need them out, you need them out fast. And you need to keep them out. At Terminix, we show up for you and eliminate pests quicker. Because we care about what matters most to you. When pests show up, so do we. Don't live with a pest problem. Terminix it. Visit Terminix.com today to schedule a free inspection online. That's TERMINIX.com. TERMINIX.com. Terminix it.
We're back. Mia here, and winning season is back. Football is back, and MyBookie is here to make sure you're ready to cash in on the action. This season, MyBookie is pulling out all the stops with incredible promotions, like weekly risk-free boosts on Thursdays, where you can bet without a sweat. If your bet hits, you win big. If it doesn't, forget it. MyBookie will refund your wager. That's just the beginning, folks. MyBookie is giving away hundreds of thousands in prizes with their Super, Survivor, and Squares contests. Get your entries in now for your shot at huge cash rewards. For a limited time, they are bringing back the double deposit bonus. When you're ready to get started, just use promo code 1010XL to claim a bonus that doubles your money on your very first deposit. You heard that right. Double your money with promo code 1010XL before you even place a bet. Not to mention, loyalty pays off with MyBookie Plus. The more you play, the more you win. Climb through tiers of loyalty rewards programs to unlock even more epic promotions. Only with MyBookie.
This date in sports history is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On September 18, 1996, MLB pitching legend Roger Clemens ties his own major league record, recording 20 strikeouts in a game against the Detroit Tigers.
Mark Watson with Hardball Creative. Are the company's Zoom calls getting boring? Might be a good time to order some new logo caps or temporary tattoos. Check them out online at hardballcreative.com.
Hardball Creative. Hardball does it all.
Most goals have a clear course, like planning a trip. But when it comes to losing 40 or 50 pounds, that's a different story. Except with Awaken 180. A clear course to fast, proven weight loss with free support for life. It's awaken180weightloss.com.
There's certain places you know if you go in, they got what you're looking for, like Gate Convenience Stores and Cold Modelo's. That's the ticket. Or get on the craft side of things with something from Bold City or Sweetwater. Hit the cooler at Gate. Full of choices and all of them good.
This is Dr. Michael Iorio, internal medicine physician for your Jacksonville Jaguars. Here's the latest update on the Jaguars, brought to you by Baptist Health and JOI.
Jaguars linebacker Foye Oluokun on the key to rebounding from the 0-2 start.
I think you always focus on the now. Obviously, it was 2 games. There's a lot of games left, but I got to keep on saying each game is a race in itself, and I like to win races, so let's win the next game that we have on our plate. Doing everything it takes to come out with the right energy against Buffalo, stay in our book, stay on our film. We know we have all the talent in the locker room to win games, so let's go out and win it, kind of focus on ourselves on the inside. Obviously, the outside has a lot of noise going on out there, but they don't know what goes on in the locker room, on the practice field. So we know what we're capable of, but we got to go out there and prove it every week from the jump.
Jaguars linebacker Foye Oluokun in the locker room, courtesy of Jaguars.com. I'm Andrew Gibson with your Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute Jaguars update.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Garber Auto Mall phone line.
Hello.
We can wiggle it.
Taylor Dalmio, Brian, RJ Saunders, I'm Lauren Brooks with you, and we are pleased to be joined by Eric Wood, former Pro Bowl center for the Bills and Bills radio analyst. Eric, thank you so much for talking with us today.
Yeah, my pleasure.
So down here in Jacksonville, we say, well, the Jaguars have the Bills number. And I know up there in Buffalo, the Bills fans say, well, we have the Dolphins number. You played for a team. Does it really work like that?
I mean, it can based upon matchups. I would say the team that had our number when I was playing for the Bills were the New England Patriots, but they had almost everybody's number, and they weren't losing a whole lot of games each year. When you look at the Dolphins, we play them twice a year, and they've been dominant against the Dolphins ever since Sean McDermott took over and Josh Allen's been the quarterback. And so, that one's got a lot more games in a row, but I've seen it. And you look at the last game in London, the Jaguars beat the Bills pretty handily and then pulled off a pretty big upset the year before down in Jacksonville, that 9-6 win. And so, yeah, there's some people out there that would say that, the Jaguars have had the Bills number as of late.
Hey, Eric, Mio O'Brien here. Thanks so much for joining us. Let's stay on that big picture topic. What do you think is the perception of the Jacksonville Jaguars, not just by Bills fans, but by the Buffalo Bills themselves?
Yeah, I would say, probably similar to everyone else that's around the league right now, thinking that this, when you look at it talent-wise, shouldn't be an 0-2 football team. And I know they've had 2 close games, and, that first one against the Dolphins, they're a fumble near the end zone away from probably running away with that one. And so, they're sitting at 0-2, but they're probably a lot better than their record indicates. Now, Jaguars didn't finish the season strong last year, and they're starting off slow this year. So at some point, you expect it to turn around, though.
Eric, one of the things that the Bills did last year is making that move in the middle of the year when they fired offensive coordinator Ken Dorsey. After that, it really felt like the offense immediately kind of shifted into what you expected that offense to look like, and now it looks like it's bleeding into this year. Anything from Josh Allen's turnovers decreased last year, and that's something people had their eye on a lot. But what has Joe Brady been able to do for this offensive scheme and for Josh Allen, and what does that indicate for teams maybe making those midseason moves when things just aren't working offensively?
Yeah, I think Joe Brady, when you look at it, he's simplified some of the passing game, given Josh some easier throws. The start of the Dolphins game last week, a couple of quick hitters to Dalton Kincaid to allow Josh to get in a rhythm and not, just make him force the ball down the field over and over and try and make those Superman plays that you often see from him. Yes, he's got that in his game, but then you give him some easier throws throughout. And then he's also been able to implement and stay consistent calling the run game, which was strong at the end of last season and has started this season off strong, which simply just takes a lot of pressure off a quarterback and off of a team when you're able to run the ball effectively. And, not all midseason switches at a coordinator or a head coach or whatever it may be works out as well as it has with this one. But the Bills saw something in Joe Brady, and it's paying off now.
Eric, as far as the offseason losses, Mitch Morse, Gabe Davis obviously here, but obviously also Stephon Diggs to the Texans. Did you think that the Bills would start 2-0 with all of that?
I did. But, the Bills had more unknowns heading into this season than we've had in a while. They've also been bitten by the injury bug, especially at the linebacker position, and then all-pro cornerback nickel, Taron Johnson's out for this game. But, I expected them to start off fast. They finished the last season very strong in the regular season, fall just short at home against Kansas City, who ends up winning the Super Bowl. So I expected them to have a good start to this year, and they've looked pretty sharp through 2 weeks.
Eric Wood, former Pro Bowl center for the Bills, now a part of the Bills radio network, joining us on the Garber Auto Mall hotline. Eric, let's go back to last year's meeting because I think this would be front of mind for Joe Brady. The Bills ran for just 29 total yards against the Jaguars. James Cook had -4 yards on 5 carries. Obviously, maybe this was the beginning for Sean McDermott of saying, maybe I need to get, somebody in here who's a little bit more apt to run the ball and to call running plays, which I'm sure as a former offensive lineman, that is music to your ears. But how much can you look back at what that Bills team was in the 2023 meeting and maybe take things from it and say this is where they have to be different in this year's meeting?
Yeah, I mean, you could say that the Bills came out flat in that game in London, but I've been a part of teams before where they say we came out flat and simply the other team executing better and dominating you, and that's what happened in London. And James Cook got benched for a part of that game after a fumble, I believe, which led to some limited carries for him. Ended up having a Pro Bowl season, ended up playing excellent, for the remainder of the year, but did not have a good game that game, and a lot of that goes on the guys up front. And the Bills had injuries to their nose guard and Matt Milano early in that game against the Jaguars, and the offense it was almost a opposite with the Jaguars. They were able to just run the football down the Bills' throat throughout that game. So I'm sure Sean McDermott will be using a lot of that as motivation here in this upcoming matchup.
One of the biggest questions here right now, Eric, is the offensive line. There's been a lot of struggles up there this first couple games and even towards the end of last season. And when you look at the Bills line, 3 of their offensive linemen, of their starting offensive linemen, the Bills have drafted. They obviously added Connor McGovern last year to kind of bulk up that line. But what are your thoughts on the building process for the Buffalo line and how that's kind of led to this offense being able to do what they've done most recently?
Yeah, the offensive line's played excellent to start this year. Deion Dawkins, already a handsomely rewarded left tackle, and then Spencer Brown just became one of the highest paid right tackles in all of football just prior to the season when he signed his contract extension. They really like their young guard and Osiris Torrance. Connor McGovern obviously sliding into the pivot for Mitch Morse, and then David Edwards played a decent amount for the Bills last season. He slides in at left guard. So they love what they have up front, and these guys, it's their, I believe, 3rd year with Aaron Cromer as the offensive line coach. So they've had some stability there. And they really like their unit up front. And, when you look at this Jacksonville offensive line on paper, you would say this is a star-studded, high draft picks, high free agents that they've brought in, if you include Mitch Morse into that list. And so you expect them, maybe as time goes on, they have more time to gel, that this is going to be a stronger unit because on paper, it looks like it should be one of the better in the league.
Eric, several years ago, the Bills came down to Jacksonville for a playoff game, and I think most people in Northeast Florida for the first time were introduced to Bills Mafia. How would you describe the fan base up there?
Yeah, that's actually my final game. They found out after that game I had a career-ending neck injury, so that was my final game was losing down there in Jacksonville. I would say for the most part, the Bills are a very passionate fan base. They like to have fun. They love their Bills. They're also very philanthropic. They support a number of charities across the country through their, community of Bills Mafia. And I'll say this, for those coming from Jacksonville that are going to attend the game, you may not be welcomed with a hug, but it's a pretty friendly environment. I'd feel more comfortable walking into the Bills Stadium, with a Jaguars jersey or shirt on than a lot of other stadiums, maybe both the ones in Philadelphia, maybe the stadium in New York. You'll have a much better, reception from Bills fan than you will at a number of other NFL stadiums.
That's good to know, Eric, because I think like half of our sales staff has some sort of connection up there, whether it's a brother or a cousin or a friend. And so a bunch of them are going up there. And in a meeting yesterday, they were saying to me like how nervous they were to go into Orchard Park and you don't just walk into Highmark Stadium. And as someone who attended Ithaca College, I'm like, I don't know. The people of Central and Western New York are very nice. They take the Bills very seriously, but I digress. Real quick before we let you go, Mitch Morse, Gabe Davis, 2 guys who I'm sure you are very familiar with. Explain to me what those 2 guys can bring to Jacksonville and why they may just be why you may believe that they're just scratching the surface right now.
Yeah, I think Mitch in particular is one of the more athletic centers in the league, even getting up there in age a little bit. He's extremely athletic, was a great leader. Yeah, that's the guy that Josh Allen had snapping to him and really kind of was a big part of the mentorship of Josh Allen was having a veteran center in front of him. And then Gabe Davis is a selfless player, can make big plays. He's reliable. He's the type of guy in Buffalo, he'd win the off-season strength and conditioning award. He's a guy that unfortunately the Bills were up against the salary cap heading into this offseason and weren't able to get a deal done with him. Jacksonville benefits because of it.
Eric, final one for me, and then we'll let you go. But when the Bills are looking at the Jags defense, what do you think their primary focus will be on? Stopping that pass rush with guys like, obviously, Josh Hines, Allen, Trayvon Walker, Eric Armstead added in the middle, or maybe taking advantage of a secondary that's pretty beat up right now?
Yeah, I think you got to, try and attack matchups that you think you have advantages with, and whether that's a banged-up secondary, okay, well, now you have to make sure that you're getting the ball up in time, or else, you're letting these defensive linemen tee off on you. This, for the past couple of years has been a pretty strong run defense in Jacksonville, so it'll kind of be strength on strength when the Bills do decide to run the ball in this game. But, you have a desperate Jacksonville team coming up to Buffalo. I've been on teams that have started 0-2 before, and you're doing anything you can not to get that third loss, because you start sitting at 0-3, and in the back of your mind you're saying towards the end of the season we might be playing meaningless football games. So the Bills know they're in for a dogfight this week.
Well, Eric, we appreciate your time, and sorry that Jacksonville didn't treat you so well back then.
Yeah, it's all good. I actually, my first game in Jacksonville in 2009, I did the Joe Theismann leg break, so that stadium gives me some nightmares.
I can only imagine. Well, we really appreciate it, and have fun Monday night.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Eric Wood, former Pro Bowl center for the Bills. He also hosts a podcast centered on Buffalo. Really, at the end of the day, it always comes down to matchups. Yeah. And one of the key pieces for the Jaguars as far as creating matchup nightmares for their teams is Evan Ingram. And we don't know at this point because of the hamstring injury he suffered before the game this past Sunday against the Browns. We don't know. We won't know until tomorrow if he's going to be able to play.
But also you couple that on the other side, and the Bills know they're without Teron Johnson already. Mm-hmm. They know they're probably without. I think that Matt Milano's already ruled out. And that linebacking core is beat up. Yeah. And while certainly their younger guys stepped up against the Dolphins, if the Jags are as physical as they say they want to be,
which we haven't seen.
We haven't seen.
We saw it in the first half of the first week.
But, it's an opportunity. If nothing else, on paper, it's an opportunity.
That it is. All right, when we return, we will take you through our picks for this week. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Making the game last a little longer.
Yes! Join me, Hacker.
And me, Leon Searcy. And Coach Campo. 2 hours after the final whistle on game day. It's the window world of Northeast Florida 5th quarter. Presented by Von Rowan Lawn on 1010XL. Now you can watch 1010XL shows all day on X, Facebook, and YouTube. Brought to you by MyBookie. Experience Vegas from the comfort of your phone anytime, anywhere. Sign up today. Use promo code 1010XL.
What makes that famous call?
Dinner's ready.
Even better? It's cooking a great meal with natural gas, enjoying faster cooking times and precise temperature control. And now getting a valuable cash rebate up to $300 when you install an energy-efficient natural gas range or cooktop.
Anyone want seconds?
When you show your home love with natural gas, it loves you right back. To learn more and how to qualify, visit peoplesgas.com/rebates.
Picture this. You know the little number counter things, the ones that just keep going up and up and up? That's what the selection is like at Arlington Toyota Pre-Owned. Mia here, not 100, not 200, not even 3, 4, or 500. Over 600 vehicles in one location. Let's break it down, shall we? Over 275 SUVs, over 200 cars, over 100 pickups, over 50 luxury vehicles. That, my friends, is over 600 vehicles on the lot at Arlington Toyota Pre-Owned. Arlington Pre-Owned even has 125 vehicles under $18K. And if you're looking for buying confidence, check this out. At Arlington Toyota Pre-Owned, you get 60 days to love it or exchange it. Need a little credit help? Arlington has your back with their Credit for Everyone program to help you get financed. Why Arlington? The better question is, why not? Don't wait. Shop Arlington Toyota Pre-Owned today. In person, 10939 Atlantic Boulevard, or online anytime at arlingtontoyota.com.
15,000 workers. I'm Brian Rose from Remedy Staffing. We survey 15,000 blue-collar workers each year to better understand what drives quality and dependability in our workforce. The survey shows when looking for a new job, the initial pay rate, job security, and safety while working are the most important factors for hourly workers. If you're an employer and would like to learn more about the voice of the blue-collar worker, please call us at 904-528-1933.
Hey, Jacksonville, Taylor Dahl here of Helmets and Heels. Are you looking for a remix on the original Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich? The Honey Pepper Pimento Chicken Sandwich is a flavorful spin on a familiar favorite created with a Chick-fil-A filet, a drizzle of honey, pickled jalapenos, and a spread of savory pimento cheese. The Honey Pepper Pimento Chicken Sandwich combines your favorite flavors with a twist. And this year, it's back with a bite with a spicy filet option available for a limited time only. So stop by and enjoy one today at your local Chick-fil-A restaurant.
Joe C. for CSS Fireplaces and Outdoor Living. And if your dream is to create that space where you're living large in your backyard, then you need to get with the good people at CSS. They put a gas log in our fireplace, an awesome fire pit out back where the kids can toast s'mores and we can just hang out and watch the game. It's all part of your outdoor living experience with CSS Fireplaces and Outdoor Living.
You dream it, we build it. CSS.
Hey, football fans, looking for the ultimate game day experience? Best Bet St. Augustine has you covered. We're talking big plays on the big screens, food specials that'll make your taste buds cheer, and drink deals that'll keep your spirits high. And get this, we're open till 4 a.m., serving food and drinks until 2. Make the smart play. Head to Best Bet St. Augustine and ante up for your team. Find us at bestbetjacks.com. That's bestbetjacks.com. Best Bet St. Augustine, where every game day is a win.
It's Helmets and Heels, Kingfish Pest Control Wednesday.
Brackish Vodka, the official vodka of UNF Athletics, 100% made in Jacksonville, is available at all local liquor stores. Visit Browdy's, Total Wine, ABC, Shores, Golden, Sahara's, Golden Ox, and more. Drink our gluten-free San Francisco Spirit award-winning vodka and see why it's the smoothest vodka you can buy. When you drink Brackish Vodka, you support all of our local employees and all the money stays in Jacksonville. Drink Brackish Vodka and live life slightly salty. Proud partner of the Jaguars.
Hey, David again with Royal Pest Services. TAP Insulation stands for thermal, acoustic, and pest control. Keep your home cool, noise out, and pests dead. Visit RoyalPestServices.com to schedule a free inspection.
Hey, Hicken here. Are you tired of having your carpets professionally cleaned only to have them looking dingy again? Zero Res can help. I'll tell you what, they have the technology. Zero Res uses its patented ZR water that cleans beautifully without using any soaps, detergents, or shampoos. That means zero residue left behind. And guess what? Zero Res falling back in time for September. 3 rooms of carpet clean for only $129, and we'll clean a 4th room for free. That's right. The 4th room is on me. Zero Res, man. Spell it forward. Zero Res, spell it backwards. It's the right way to clean.
Home of the Jacksonville Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
Southeast Orthopedic Specialist is now offering ortho walk-in appointments. If you have an immediate need for orthopedic care, contact Southeast Orthopedic Specialist immediately. Avoid ERs and urgent care waiting rooms. For more information, go to se-ortho.com.
Relieve pain and get back to life. SOS. Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
This is a one-of-a-kind Gabriel fashion sale.
Rings, bracelets, earrings.
All new for 2024.
For 3 days only.
September 20th, 21st, and 22nd.
Beards Diamonds in the St. John's Town Center or at beardsdiamonds.com.
This is Molly McDonald with your 1010XL Southeast Orthopedic Specialist Local Sports Update, brought to you by Advanced Business Solutions. The Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp opened their last home series against the Gwinnett Stripers last night, losing 4-3. The Shrimp look to bounce back tonight during Game 2 with first pitch at 7:05. Right-handed pitcher Adam Mazar will start for the Shrimp. With a slow start to their season, the Florida Gators go on the road for their first away game of the season against Mississippi State. Coach Billy Napier spoke on the intensity that comes with being on the road.
Yeah, no, I just think in general, regardless of what team you are in this league or what opponent you're playing, when it's your first road SEC game, regardless of who it is and where it is, you got to be ready to go because there's a little bit different intensity to that. You're going into enemy territory and you got to be ready.
It's 87 degrees at 1 o'clock. Time and temp brought to you by Bueller Air and Plumbing. Stay cooler with Bueller.
1010 1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Helmets and Heels is switched on by
First Coast Lighting and Fans.
Upscale Lighting, Fans, and Home Decor on 1010XL.
Normally we do our picks on Friday, but Mia will be gone, so we'll do it today. Mia, I have terrible news for you and me. We are in the cellar with 7 points apiece, but I have great news for Taylor. Oh. She has 11 points.
It's not how you start, it's how you finish, Lauren.
That is true, although the teams that we cover closely, I do feel like they needed to have started better.
There was on Sunday night, we had our my Bears watch group that all watches the game together out, and one of the guys had a little too much to drink, and he was just kind of being a little too much. But at one point, he was yelling, and he was like, "It's okay, guys, break, don't bend." And I was like, I don't think that's the term. I don't think that's what you want to do. And so now it's a joke that we keep being like, break, don't bend, guys.
Well, as we were just discussing off air, Jason Kelce chest bumped an Eagles fan Monday night. And it didn't go well for the Eagles fan. His ACL did break, not just bend.
And to add insult to injury, they blew it in the final 2 minutes of the ball game.
Yeah, Kelce literally predicted Eagles by 50. Yeah. He said Birds by 50, but Eagles by 50 ahead of the game, and that didn't go so well.
He did leave the booth, went home, allegedly. I don't think he did. I think he was on the postgame show. But he said he was going to leave Joe Buck and Troy Aikman and go home. And, of course, then everything went to
haywire.
Heck in a handbasket.
Well, he asked Hurts if he missed him, and Hurts was like, yes. I'm like, of course he misses you. You've learned really quick.
You're a six-time All-Pro. It's pretty nice to just walk in and be like, okay, I'm going to do all your alerts.
Good.
I'm going to handle all your checks. And now it's like, oh, you're year 5, year 6, you're getting paid, and Jason Kelce's gone. Now it's on you. Yeah. More work for poor Jalen.
In the first game that Friday night against the Packers, it looked like they were going to have a seamless transition at center.
They tried to do the tush push, and it did not work quite the same way it did with Jason. And I was like, they're going to figure out quickly that you can't, it's a massive drop off, between Jason and most people.
And that's not to say Cam Jurgens isn't a good football player. I think he's a good football player.
One of the best centers
of all time.
Right. Yeah.
You got that right. All right, time now to get to our picks. We will start in the realm of college football as Florida travels to Mississippi State. I told you on Monday I was shocked that both Florida and Florida State were favored this week based off of the product that we've seen to this point. But Florida is a 6-point favorite on the road in Stark Vegas. This is kind of like a Dan Mullen reunion game, except Dan Mullen isn't on the sidelines for Florida anymore. That would be Billy Napier, and people at this point wish he wasn't either. Taylor, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I don't like either of these teams. But after what Florida did to me last week when I picked them, I cannot do that again. I think that one thing about when it comes to Mississippi State and Blake Shapen, he takes sacks and a lot of big sacks. I think he has negative yards off of sacks both games that he's played so far, double-digit negative yards. But he only has 1 turnover. He's thrown 7 touchdowns. He's at least careful with the ball, and I do think that's going to benefit them, so I'm going to go Mississippi State.
And also Florida can't generate sacks or
pressure.
Anything. So breakokout game.
Here's your game.
Don't you talk bad about Big Dev.
Friend of the program, Blake Shapen, big day incoming. Routes on air. I've got Mississippi State in this one, especially after just an astounding loss at the hands of the Toledo Rockets. Give me Stark Vegas in Stark Vegas. I was the only one here at the table that picked the old A&M Aggies to cover.
Yeah, I thought Florida would win. That's how dumb I was. So.
You and me both. Although I wasn't sure Florida was actually going to win the game. But at the end of the day, I do think akin to last year when the Jaguars had to get out of Jacksonville in order to win. I honestly think that playing at the Swamp has almost been detrimental, as crazy as that sounds because of the home field advantage that the Swamp can provide with the crowd noise. But they are booing Billy Napier when he appears on a commercial that is anti-drunk driving. And they booed him then. And then, of course, when he walks off the field, I do think that there is so much negative tension that it will feel good for the Gators to go on the road. I don't know that Florida's going to win I'll say Florida will win by a touchdown. I don't think it's going to be a blowout game like some people are predicting because Mississippi State lost to Toledo. I think these are 2 bad teams. It's just there's one that I do think Florida understands if they don't win this game, it's going to be tough sledding the rest of the season. So I'll take Florida, but I'll probably be wrong.
Maybe the players want Napier gone, and they're like, let's blow this one so this guy gets out of here.
You never know. All right, let's get it to Oklahoma State playing host to Utah. Originally, Oklahoma State was favored, but once Cam Rising, it was announced that he will play in the game. Now Utah, a 2-point favorite. I'm going to go with Ollie Gordon and Mike Gundy. Somehow, some way, I think Oklahoma State covers the 2. I know which way you're going.
I know. I can't go home if I don't pick the Utes.
I
can't go home if I don't pick Utah, and I am picking Utah because I do think that when you look at Utah without Cam Rising and you look at them with him, it is literally two different football teams. And now certainly Oklahoma State is a step above in terms of competition compared to Utah State a week ago. But I also know that this is the same OK State team that let Arkansas hang around, and Arkansas had to shoot themselves in the foot 6 times in order to lose that game in double overtime. And so give me the Utes.
Yeah, I think getting Rising back is huge, but there's 2 things that are making me go Oklahoma State, and it's the fact that Utah's secondary has been really bad. They rank outside the top 100 in explosive plays, and that's against Utah State and Baylor. Also, the Pokes haven't allowed a single sack all season. I think that gives plenty of time for their offense to kind of do what they need to do. Ollie Gordon hasn't even been at his best. He was only averaging like 4 yards per carry, but he still has 4 touchdowns, and you still have seen some big moments from him. I think this is an Ollie Gordon breakout game, and they're going to take advantage of that Utes secondary.
You did see the stat, by the way, that the combined age of the quarterbacks in this game greater than the combined
49.
age of the 2 quarterbacks on Sunday Night Football in the National Football League.
Yeah, 49 versus 44, I think it was. Yeah, that's what happens
Alan
with the
Bowman
COVID night. All right, Taylor, I'll start with you. Tennessee and Josh Heupel traveled to Oklahoma. Tennessee is a 7-point favorite on the road. Of course, Josh Heupel at one point in time was the quarterback for Oklahoma when they won a national championship. He did not win the Heisman, but he came close. Who you got?
Yeah, I'm going Tennessee. I think the Vols have one of the best defensive lines in the nation right now, and they're going against the Sooners' offensive line, who struggled a lot early. I do think Oklahoma's defense will be able to keep them in for a good amount of time, but I just think later, once you get through into the third quarter, halfway through the third quarter, they're going to start wearing down a little bit. So I'm going to go Tennessee. Once I learn how to say this guy's name, I'll say it more.
Nico Iamaleava.
I know, but I've watched 2 videos, and he says it different. He says it one time, Iamaleava, and then he says it another time, Iamaleava.
Yeah, I think he has changed it, but I'm going to go with the way Laura Rutledge says it on SEC Nation. That's where I got mine from. And she says it so well, Nico Iamaleava. So that's what I'm
And that's
going
not
with.
even the 2 that he says, so now I'm even more confused.
I'm going with Tennessee as well. The Volunteers are a team that can roll the opponent, and while it is a touchdown spread, I think it's going to end up Tennessee probably a double-digit win. Nico Iamaleava has weapons, and he is in the best system possible, which is why I love Josh Heupel as a coach. Mia?
I just come down, first of all, Norman's a hard place to play.
Yeah.
Like, let's get that out there in the open. I think it's a top 5 in terms of aesthetic beauty, campus, and football stadium in the world, in the country. This is as much of a revenge game. Josh Heupel is a soft-spoken man, but come on. To get run out of your own alma mater, that's got to be weighing on him. This meeting has been circled on the calendar. Frank and Matt talked about it yesterday on the Frangie Show when Matt joined them, of course, to talk SEC football like he does every Tuesday, powered by Underwoods. And Matt said he brought it up to them almost unsolicited. They prompted the question a little bit on Radio Row out in Dallas at SEC Media Days, but Josh leaned into it. This is something that he is ready for. And like Taylor said, the defense and the offense are performing at all cylinders right now. Do I see a world in which Brett Venables' defense presents some challenges, the most challenges, because I don't think NC State's all that good, certainly, but I just think that offense is too high-powered. I'm taking the Vols.
Dylan Sampson has, I feel like, gone under the radar. He's the running back for Tennessee. Watch out for him, and everyone knows Squirrel White because of his name, but also his talent. So, we've all got the Vols there. All right, switching it to the National Football League. We have the Texans on the road at the Vikings. The Texans, surprisingly, 2.5-point favorites. I say surprisingly because normally the road team is favored when it's close. So, Taylor, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I'm going to go the Texans on this one. I think that Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson, and Dallas Turner are all beat up right now. They're playing, they're all kind of... They're practicing, but they're all banged up in some form or fashion, ankles and one thing or another between the 3 of them.
Ankles and knees. And
all of it. I'm not taking anything out of the Giants win for the Vikings. The Niners win, obviously, you have to look at a little bit, but I almost say it was more of like a really sloppy Niners loss than it was more so like some crazy victorious Vikings. I'm not on the Sam Darnold train yet. Maybe this game would shift that for me if he is able to pull this out and play kind of the way that he seems like he's been trending towards playing. But I just think both the edges are going to kill them. Going against I was about to say Will Levis. going against Danielle Hunter and going against Will Anderson, that pressure that they can create, in addition to the pressure they've been able to create in the middle, I think is going to be hard. In addition, the Vikings have not faced the amount of weapons that the Texans have. So I'm going to go the Texans on this one.
I also think, though, it's an underrated offensive line for the Vikings. I can't come away from seeing what Christian Darrisaw was able to do against that San Francisco 49ers defensive front, which I would argue has more depth than the Texans. And so,
but you're the leader of the Sam Darnold fan club.
I am. Yeah. Well, not Sam Darnold. I'm the leader of the KOC fan club, which is why I'm going to take the Vikings. Although this game screams Houston by a field goal. Excuse me. It absolutely screams it with it happening up at US Bank Stadium. I'm going to take the Vikings though because I think this KOC revenge tour goes on for one more week, and it's a shocker. I would say even more of a shocker than beating the 49ers, who of course were without Christian McCaffrey, and in turn, I think they'll have some sort of unexplainable loss in the next month or so.
Mm-hmm. Other than Tennessee, Oklahoma, Mia, you and I have gone opposite each time, so that's good news as far as the disparity in the picks contest, because I'm going to take the Texans as well. When it comes down to two, I think, pretty good teams, I'm always going to go with who I think the better quarterback is. And as much as it pains me to say that C.J. Stroud is a really good quarterback, he is. And at the end of the day, I've got the Texans. Look, I think that game a week from now, when the Jaguars go to Houston, is going to be massive.
Yeah.
All right, let's get it to the Ravens at the Cowboys. Like we talked about at the top of the show, the Ravens are also 0-2 along with the Jags. They are 1.5-point favorites on the road in Dallas. Mia, who you got?
Got to get it done if you're Lamar and company. Got to get this one. So I'm taking Baltimore. And also because I've already predicted with Mike McCarthy in a lame duck year, even if the Cowboys win the NFC East, even if they get to double-digit wins, if they're out in the first round of the playoffs, Mike McCarthy's gone. Yeah. And heaven forbid they don't make the playoffs. So I'm sticking by that prediction. Give me Baltimore.
Yeah, I actually do think that Dak Prescott and that passing attack is going to kill the Ravens. The secondary hasn't been very good. So I'm going to take the Cowboys at home, Taylor.
Yeah, I'm going Ravens. I think that, to me, I think the storylines are both teams are coming off bad losses. Both teams have quarterbacks who are considered one of the better quarterbacks in the league when you're talking about it. But I think the lack of run game in Dallas is what's going to get them, because they have not been able to run the ball with Zeke. Zeke's pretty much just been like a blocking running back, and that's all he's really been able to do so far. And then what Kamara was able to do against when you look at what Alvin Kamara was able to do, it's just, I just don't see a world where if you can't run the ball that they're going to be able to focus on what Dak Prescott does in the air, and I think that's going to hurt them at the end. I think the Ravens pull it all together, and they're going to be able to get their passing attack back and be able to run the ball all over them, which is going to open up a lot of opportunities for Lamar Jackson. So I'm going to say the Ravens.
All right, in the last game, the Jaguars take on the Bills up in Buffalo. We just chatted with Eric Wood about this matchup. The Bills are 5.5-point favorites. No surprise here. I'm going to take the Jaguars because I think this team is absolutely desperate. And I'm not saying the Jags are necessarily going to win, but I do think they cover the 5.5. It's a game where the Jaguars have heard the critics for the last 2 weeks, certainly the last week in particular, and I think Trevor Lawrence plays well. The Jaguars, Josh Hines-Allen, no longer we have to say Josh Allen versus Josh Allen, but Josh Hines-Allen continues to have a good game. Mia, who you got?
I'm with Mike Dempsey. I can't pick the Jags until they prove me otherwise. Also, I feel like this is unfair that we have to pick this game almost 5-6 days in advance because we don't know if Evan Ingram will be available. We don't know exactly what the injury report will look like for Buffalo. But by nature, again, of Jaguars programming tomorrow, the kickoff show on Monday because of a earlier kickoff. We have to make it now. Me not being here Friday, so yeah.
So it's your fault.
Yeah. It's my fault on both fronts, 2 out of the 3 at least. So -5.5 Bills cover that spread and win.
Yeah, I say Bills too. I haven't seen anything from the Jags offense that convinces me they can do anything against anybody right now, especially a Bills defense that even when beat up is still able to pump out guys over and over again. I think this offense is meshing so well when it comes to Buffalo that everything is clicking. And when we were just talking to Eric earlier about how they've really figured out their run game, they have one of probably a top offensive line in the league. Their defense just keeps being able to do whatever they want. Josh Allen's figured out how to not have to be the hero. And so it's hard for me not to pick Bills in this one.
We were at we did our show ahead of the Constellation Fiork and Friends concert last year, right in front of Daly's place when Dustin Lynch was going to perform. And it was when the Jaguars were not playing good football and they were going on to London to take on the Bills. And Mia, you said the Bills are going down, the Jags are going to win. And I thought you were crazy at the time. So I'm very disappointed that now you're going Bills and not Jags, although it is again.
I mean, this is more so just me kind of like setting myself up for just like, okay, all right, if it doesn't happen, We're on to basketball, baby. We're on to basketball. And if it does, great. The Jags prove to us that they can win a must-win game, which would be very, very nice.
It would be our first victory Monday for real.
It would be a victory Tuesday is the unfortunate part.
That's a good point,
Yeah.
but I'll take it. All right, when we return, Taylor Dahl has a tangent, and we have a giveaway. You're listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
This hour of Helmets and Heels is brought to you by First Coast Honda Dealers. Take your shot at a weekly tailgate combo pack valued at $100 from Southern Steer Butcher.
And monthly winners get a Corona tailgate tent with a cooler, chair, and collectible football.
It's the ultimate tailgate. Enter now at 1010XL.com.
Winning season is back, football is back, and MyBookie is here to make sure you're ready to cash in on the action. This season, MyBookie is pulling out all the stops with incredible promotions like weekly risk-free boosts on Thursdays where you can bet without a sweat. If your bet hits, you win big. If it doesn't, forget about it. MyBookie will refund your wager. So maybe you're buying this early season hype from Gerard Mayo and company and want to take the Patriots +6 on Thursday Night Football. Thursday's the day to do it, if so. That's just the beginning, though, folks. MyBookie is giving away hundreds of thousands in prizes with their Super Survivor and Squares contests. And for a limited time, they are bringing back the double deposit bonus. When you're ready to get started, use promo code 1010XL to claim a bonus that doubles your money on your very first deposit. Double your money with promo code 1010XL before you even place a bet. Be sure to also check out MyBookie Plus while you're at mybookie.ag. Bet on anything, anywhere, anytime, and make your season a winning season with MyBookie.
Do the Garber wiggle, Garber wiggle, 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 Garber wiggle.
At Garber Auto Mall, we can wiggle it. Best price, we can wiggle it. Best trade value, we can wiggle it. Best payment, we can wiggle it. Ford, Chevy, Buick, GMC, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, with 8 American brands, we can wiggle it. Visit us in Green Cove Springs or online at GarberAutomall.com. And remember, at Garber Auto Mall, there's always a little room for wiggle.
Do the Garber wiggle, Garber wiggle, 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 Garber wiggle.
Injured in an accident? Have mounting medical bills? Can't work? Don't worry. Zach's got your back. I'm Zach Von Rowan of Von Rowan Law. I will fight for the compensation that you deserve. Set up your free consultation at zachsgotyourback.com.
It's storm season, and JEA is committed to keeping you informed. In the event of a storm, we'll text and email you about the status of your services. We use Facebook and X to post real-time updates. Our live outage map on JEA.com lets you track restoration progress. And as crews work to restore services, our storm outreach team will be in local neighborhoods to answer your questions. Because as your community utility, JEA is here to keep you safe and connected. Your community, your utility.
It's Helmets and Heels, Kingfish Pest Control Wednesday. Proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Join Jim Furyk and other legends of the PGA Tour for the 4th annual Constellation Furyk and Friends, presented by Circle K, October 4th through 6th at Timuquana Country Club. Get your tickets now, starting at just $25 for grounds passes. And if you're a country music fan, grab your tickets to see Brothers Osborne at Daly's Place Tuesday, October 1st for the Furyk Foundation concert sponsored by Ring Power. Learn everything you need to know at ConstellationFurykandFriends.com.
Are you feeling the heat? It's time to cool things down with Duck Duck Air Conditioning. Contact us today at 904-862-6769 or online at duckduckac.com. Duck Duck Air Conditioning to keep you cool and comfortable all year round.
Follow the Canes as they storm the ACC.
I'm 1010XL's JJ LaSalva, and every week I'll bring you the Miami news and notes you need to know.
The Performance Painting Hurricane Report on 1010XL. Prepare, protect, preserve.
When all you have is a hammer, everything is a nail. I'm Dr. George Bari, and like me, I know you have been bombarded with PRP and stem cell treatments from companies that promise the world and charge prices to match. Or the surgeon that convinced you the only way to treat your injuries through surgery. At Bari Orthopedics, we offer the best PRP treatment on the market with prices that won't cost you an arm and a leg. We also have the expertise to treat your injury surgically if that is what it entails. We can discuss all surgical and non-surgical options with you and make sure you get the best treatment available. Come see me, Dr. George Bari at Bari Orthopedics.
Jacksonville's building a fence along the goal line. This is the Superior Fence and Rail Defensive Player of the Game. Superior Fence and Rail, where quality matters.
Josh Hines Allen was a monster on Sunday for the Teal and Black. The superstar defensive end recorded 4 tackles versus the Browns and also had a sack in what was a dominant performance. Without question, Allen displayed his superiority on Sunday and is your Superior Fence and Rail's defensive player of the game.
If you're tired of your fence looking like a bad hair day, well, it's time for a fence makeover with Superior Fence and Rail. They'll make your yard the talk of the town with a new fence installed by their expert team.
Your fence is fantastic. My fence is giving all of my neighbors some serious pick and envy. Thanks, Superior Fence and Rail.
So get off the fence and call Superior Fence and Rail for your fence installation project today.
SuperiorFenceandRail.com.
Daly's Dash is not only your Jaguars game day stop, but a great place to grab a meal any day of the week. To honor the Jags and the fans, we've crafted the Duval Sub. The Duval comes with freshly sliced turkey ham, melted cheddar and habanero jack cheese, topped with crisp lettuce, fresh tomatoes, and a double portion of our secret sauce, all served on a fresh roll. Come by your local's Daly's Dash today to get your delicious Duval Sub. Daly's is the official convenience store sponsor of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Hey folks, this is Dave Benyon with my son Ammon here from Zero Res. Ammon, you've been cleaning air ducts for a while now. What are some of the reasons customers might consider getting their air ducts cleaned?
There are many reasons. Many times, people suffer needlessly from poor indoor air quality produced by the conditions in their air system. Construction dust, the presence of bacterial growth, and years' worth of buildup all come together to make your air ducts a pretty gross place. If you suffer from allergies, have recently moved, recently remodeled, or have never had your air ducts cleaned, then now is the best time to call. By calling Zero Res, you'll have the peace of mind of knowing that you called the best of the best. Our state-of-the-art truck mount system and top-of-the-line service representatives simply can't be found anywhere else. Google Zero Res and read thousands of 5-star reviews.
So what kind of deals can I expect?
Just mention that you heard us on the radio, and we'll give you $100 off your air duct cleaning.
Wow, that sounds like a pretty great deal. Remember, folks, Zero Res,
spelled forward or backwards, it's the right way to clean.
CEROREC. Zero Res.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
This is Helmets and Heels.
Kept classy by First Coast Lighting and Fans. Upscale lighting, fans, and home decor.
On 1010XL.
Mia O'Brien, Taylor Dahl, or Jay Saunders. I'm Lauren Brooks with you on this beautiful Wednesday afternoon. We didn't get to this earlier, but Tua Tagovailoa placed on injured reserve. I think that's the healthiest possible thing for him. Mentally, he gets to recover. Physically, he gets to recover. And I know those are kind of intertwined because of the concussion. But I do think it gives him a chance to just reevaluate everything.
Yeah.
I think it's really smart that he'll take the next 4 weeks off.
Yeah, I do too. And it doesn't make you feel like you have those 4 weeks now and there's take that time to like think about everything else, what you maybe go talk to some people and figure out, long-term stuff, what's going on.
By neurologists.
Yes, because I think that if they didn't put him on IR and it was this week-to-week thing, every single week it'd be this game of like, okay, is he practicing? Is he limited? Is he going to play this weekend? Is he not? Or should he play this weekend? If the Dolphins lose a couple, do you think they'd throw him in 3 weeks because they want to take the chance? They can't do that. Like, let Tua take his time and figure it out. I think it's best for everybody. I think it's best for Miami. They obviously have to evaluate stuff. This is multiple serious concussions now that he's had, in addition to another injury early on in his career. So it's kind of like, Miami, you also have to figure out what you're going to do for your future. And this gives everybody time to kind of just readjust and figure all of that out.
Public perception, too. It's the right move by the Dolphins. Obviously, it's the right move for Tua's health to at least say, hey, the next 4 weeks, he's not eligible. But I also think if the report from Ian Rappaport is true and that Tua is vowing that he's not done, he's going to go see every world-renowned concussion specialist and find a way back onto the field. I think optics-wise, and not that matters because at the end of the day, the player's health is most paramount, but I think this idea of waging war against science, let Tua and his family decide that. Yeah. And for the Dolphins to say, no, we're going to recommend you sit for X amount of time. And then when you're ready to come back because of your research and what you've consulted, who you've consulted with, I think it just makes the most sense right now. I mean, look, like the concussion specialist could say something completely different, but it's hard to, again, wrap your brain around where, like I said, I know in New Jersey, the rule is if you have 5 concussions, throughout your high school career, which of course is a 4-year period, you're done. You're medically retired.
Yeah.
And Tua is obviously right there at that threshold.
Yeah, we know he's had at least 3 to this point in his career.
Well, 3 in 1 year. There was the 3 in 2022. This one
is 4.
And then he suffered one on the injury on his final play at Alabama.
But yeah.
I do wonder if we'll start to see, we've seen a few players wear the Guardian caps, but those are supposed to help protect from concussion.
And one of the Browns players was playing it.
Yeah,
was wearing
I
it.
wonder if we'll start to see more players, or if the NFL decides to just make a rule. Every quarterback has to wear this, every receiver, every running back.
And that's what I'm interested in that, because I feel like if it was significantly helping, then the NFL would make them. So I don't know how drastic it changes things, or I feel like the NFL would say, hey, we've had X amount of concussions in this amount of time, or a certain position, like quarterbacks need to wear this because of whatever. But it doesn't seem like the science is shifting too much, because they're kind of testing it out in practice. And like, if you want to wear it, you can, but you don't have to.
So right on cue, Mike McDaniel is actually currently meeting with reporters down in Miami. And so a reporter asked him, did Tua fight you about going on IR? And of course, Mike McDaniel responded, quote, I would hope if he fought me, I'd be bruised up because I'm not that physically imposing, as only Mike McDaniel could. He then continued and said, the great thing about IR is that for a month's time, there is no timeline. In other words, no pressure to return.
Yep.
Give it some time.
I also bet the NFLPA players don't want to wear the Guardian caps, and most of them don't have the issues with concussions. So I bet that organization too, their
fighting back a
group
little
is
bit.
like, I don't want it, like, because the majority don't have to worry about it. All right, right now Taylor Dahl has a tangent.
Now, Taylor's Tangent, served up by Chick-fil-A on 1010XL.
So Daniel Griffiths, we've talked about him a lot when it comes to the data guy. He's on because he posts a lot of stats and charts and all of that stuff for Jaguars on SI. But he posted one this morning, and it was quote tweeted on the safety that the Jags got this last week when obviously Trevor Lawrence went down in the end zone. But he quote tweeted it with some numbers, and I was interested, so I reached out to him to get some further numbers to see some of these other things that are going on. And to me, it is something that we have to keep an eye on that is a little bit of a slight concern to me. And this is Trevor Lawrence's pressure to sack percentage from the time he got into the league to now. So in 2021, he had a 14.5% pressure to sack percentage. In 2022, it went up just 0.1% to 14.6%. In 2023, it went up to 18.4%, and I think a lot of people were like, well, that's because he was injured for such a massive amount of time towards the end of the year, so that factored into it. But now this year, so far in 2 games, it's at 29.2%. His pressure to sack percentage. So I know we've talked a lot about the offensive line, and rightfully so, being critical on a lot of those things. But this was something that made Trevor Lawrence so good in college and so good in his first couple years here, is because when you're able to not have that high pressure to sack percentage, it really does help. That's one of the biggest knocks on Justin Fields, is Justin Fields, even in college, had one of the highest pressure to sack percentage in college football, and then it transferred over into the NFL. It was something he was not able to ever fix. And so now you're seeing Trevor Lawrence through those 4 years, it get worse within each year. And so when I went into some of the more numbers to look at it, just to kind of see. So for example, this year so far, the best quarterbacks, and so this is what you are more wanting. And so just keep in mind, Trevor is at a 29.2 pressure to sack percentage. The top quarterbacks in the league, Jared Goff has a 6.9, Jalen Hurts has a 9.7, Josh Allen has 11.1, Kirk Cousins has a 12, Justin Herbert at 14.3, Jacoby Brissett at 14.8, and Lamar Jackson at 15. So significantly less with those top quarterbacks than what Trevor Lawrence has right now. And then when you go to just generally, let's say the last couple years, from 2023, actually, we'll just look at the 2023 numbers. So because you do have a full year of context in that. Josh Allen, 10%. Patrick Mahomes, 10.6%. Brock Purdy, 13.1%. Jordan Love, 13.7%. Jared Goff, 13.9%. And Geno Smith, 13.9%. So, again, significantly less, over 10% less when it comes to that percentage number. And then so I had asked Daniel, because I was like, so, those first 2 numbers for Trevor at that 14% seemed like they are around. You're right outside the top 5-6 guys in the league when it comes to in 2023. And so he was like, I can tell you exactly. So in 2021, Lawrence had the 5th best percentage number. In 2022, he had the 8th. In 2023, it dropped to the 15th. And now so far in 2024, it's down to the 22nd out of 30. to me, it's not like it's 2-game sample size, so it's not a crazy panic. But even the jump from a 14 to 18 is a big percentage from last year. And it's not like they were just looking, this is for the season, so for the entire season as a whole, that the pressure to sack percentage has gone up for him. So it's just something to keep an eye on, because once quarterbacks, and we've talked about it, I was talking about it with Mike Dempsey on the crosstalk yesterday, of how he seemed to be leaving the pocket earlier than he did in previous years too. How much is he in his head in these certain moments, because he has been hit more, and because of the injury last year, has that made him a little more afraid to get hit? Has that turned into this pressure to sack percentage, not getting rid of the ball? Many things factor into this number, but it is something to keep an eye on, because someone who has an over 20% pressure to sack percentage have been in the bottom 10 quarterbacks in the last 5 years.
So it's not telling you how bad the offensive line is.
Yeah, it is no, because this pressure to sack percentage is not, this isn't saying that all of these quarterbacks, and that's one thing that in Chicago we've argued the last 4 years. Okay, well, they had a bad offensive line, and then you go and look at other teams that have not great offensive lines, and they still didn't have as high of a pressure to sack percentage. Some of this is on the offensive line, but when you have a number over 25%, a lot of it links to your quarterback.
Right, and that's where the question of our sacks a quarterback stat, but also, since, Daniel used the video of the safety play, we've already done ad nauseum over and over about that being coaching and that being situational awareness of, do you really want to call such a slow developing play on your own 2-yard line when your offensive line, yes, middle of the road at best, and secondly, that your wide receivers and your quarterback haven't exactly had the best connection all day up to that point. Not to mention, does the quarterback have happy feet?
Yeah, and is he dropping his eyes because of that rush and all those things? All right, we've got lunch for 2 on Chick-fil-A.
We do. Lunch on the ladies, lunch for 2 to Chick-fil-A. Let's say caller number 3 at 641-1010.
Sounds good. We've got 1 segment to go. I was asked a question on Twitter yesterday. I'm going to pose to y'all when we return. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010XL, 92.5 FM.
Helmets and Heels. This hour is brought to you by First Coast Honda Dealers.
I'm here with Clayton Bromberg of Underwood Jewelers. Clayton, why is it that when you look at how long a store has been in business, that it always seems to be the stores like Underwood's that sell fine quality that have been around the longest?
Frank, that's a question that really doesn't get asked a lot, but it should be. There are a number of reasons, but probably the biggest is because of the endorsements our longtime customers and their pieces of jewelry have given us through the years. You see, when you sell really fine quality jewelry, that piece will last longer and always stay beautiful. It might stay in the same family for generations, and through those years of wear, a lot of compliments will be made and a lot of people will be told where the piece of jewelry came from. You see, at a store like Underwood's, it's our stated goal to be the best jeweler in the South, not the biggest, so everything we do and carry has to help move us toward that goal. And ultimately, it's the satisfied customers wearing fine quality jewelry that have kept Underwood's in Jacksonville since 1928.
Underwood's in San Marco, Avondale, and the shops of Ponte Vedra.
Mia here, and when I was buying a new construction home last summer, there was no question. Dreamfinders Homes was the builder for me. A big reason why? Their unbeatable interest rates. Right now, you can take advantage of a 2.99% year one rate. Find your dream home, take advantage of unbeatable rates, and move in today. I'll say it again, 2.99% year one rate. Dreamfinders Homes, the official home builder of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Hacker here, and I've got something to celebrate. Honestly, I never thought I'd be able to say this. I'm on the countdown to dropping 100 pounds. Yes, sir. 90 pounds already, thanks to Awaken 180 weight loss, and I'm just 3 weeks away from hitting the big 100. The best part? I'm reaching that 100 mark in months, not years. Life-changing and life-saving. No doubt about it. I had pretty much given up on trying, but now I'm going to be here for my son, my wife, my family, and most importantly, for myself. I'm living my life to the fullest, and I didn't know just how easy it was to make happen with Awaken 180. When I hit that 100-pound mark, we're going to celebrate big. I'll keep you updated every week as I get closer, and you can even join in on the celebration. Details to come. In the meantime, pick up the phone and make your own 180. Call 844-346-1800 or online at awaken180weightloss.com.
Hey, Jacksonville, Taylor Dahl here of Helmets and Heels. Chick-fil-A is introducing their new banana pudding milkshake that's here for a limited time to enjoy. The seasonal treat features Chick-fil-A ice cream dessert mixed with bananas and vanilla wafer cookie crumbles. It's a perfect sweet spin on a classic shake. The banana pudding milkshake is here for a limited time, so stop by your local Chick-fil-A restaurant and treat yourself today.
At Honda, we appreciate all the comparisons to other vehicles. And no matter how many times they compare their vehicles to a Honda, only a Honda is a Honda. Remember, value, quality, safety, there is no substitute. Visit your local Honda dealer now and experience the difference.
If you suffer from constant burning, tingling, or numbness in your hands or feet, it could be a serious condition called neuropathy. I'm Dr. Nathan Riddle, DC with Riddle Wellness in Ponte Vedra. Neuropathy is treatable, and we have seen great results by using state-of-the-art, non-invasive therapies to target damaged nerves, reduce symptoms, and improve nerve function. Call 904-395-5598 to schedule your free consultation today and learn how you can live pain-free. Call 904-395-5598.
Helmets and Heels.
Kingfish Pest Control Wednesday.
AC replacement? If your AC unit is ready to go kaput, then it's time to call Florida Home AC. With over $3,000 in tax credits waiting for you on select systems, take advantage of it. Call 777-4300. Get Florida Home AC to cool you off.
Go! Everyone who puts on a high school football uniform dreams of Friday Night Glory. Southeast Orthopedic Specialists, Friday Night Lights. Join Hacker and Andrew Gibson, presented by Duck Rooter Plumbing, Septic and Air Conditioning on 1010XL.
This is Corona Premier. It's the light beer you didn't know was a light beer. Until right. Wait for it. Wait for it. Wait for it. Now, Corona Premier, an unexpectedly light beer.
This is Nia Lauren Stample, former Florida State National Champion and the proud owner of NLS Cleaning. Just like on the gridiron, we tackle dirt and grime with unmatched precision. Whether it's your commercial property or your residential space, we are ready to take care of your exterior cleaning needs. NLScleaning.net.
Welcome to ABS Advanced Business Solutions, your local authorized technology partner and home to Xerox copiers.
Advanced Business Solutions.
It only takes a drop of water to cause someone to slip and fall, but it takes a lot more to prove that your injuries were the result of negligence. The store said the floor was dry. Our investigators learned that on the day of the accident, it had been raining.
So the next time it rained, we went back. And guess what? Rainwater was dripping from the ceiling exactly where our client was injured. When you're in for the fight of your life, investigators with 30 years of experience is a good thing. Farah and Farah, Jacksonville.
Hey, it's Mike Dempsey, and you know how I feel about Pella Windows and Doors. Great design, strongest warranties, and the highest quality product. I even chose Pella Windows for my own home. And whether you're a homeowner replacing windows or building a new home or a trade professional working with clients, I know the design experts at Pella will help your project run smoothly and look great. Visit PellaJacks.com or the Pella showroom on Phillips Highway at Pella Windows and Doors.
Family owned and managed for 20 years, Hidden Hills Golf Club boasts a unique and welcoming golfing atmosphere. Visit us at hiddenhillsgc.com to book your next round on our Arnold Palmer signature course. You'll be glad you did.
This is Dr. Kevin Kaplan, head team physician for your Jacksonville Jaguars. Here's the latest update on the Jags, brought to you by Baptist Health and JOI.
Jaguars running back Travis Etienne Jr. on facing the adversity of an 0-2 start.
I mean, it sucks after a loss because you got the extra pain to deal with, but we got to face it. We got to face adversity, and I feel like the only way to go forward is through, and that's what we're faced with right now. And I feel like the only way we're going to get better is by locking with each other and understanding the reality of the situation and understanding that whatever we're doing, just do it a little more and see what that takes us. And I feel like we got a great group of guys in here. And like you said, there's no panic in here. We're 0-2, and I feel like we still got the rest of the season ahead of us, so we're excited about the future.
Jaguars running back Travis Etienne Jr. this week in the locker room, courtesy of Jaguars.com. I'm Andrew Gibson with your Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute Jaguars update.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, the cool down from the cool guys at Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing. Fast, reliable, and honest service since '87.
No, we did our picks a little bit early due to various programming scheduling conflicts. No, I picked against the Bills, but also know this, Duval. The underdog, Monday Night Football, 25-12-1 in their previous, what does that make it, 38, 39 Monday Night Football games. Granted, the underdog is 1-1 through 2 weeks so far of the 2024 season on Monday Night Football, but history is on your side, Jacksonville. Go out, win a football game on Monday. Please, we beg you.
Something interesting that I read, and we were talking earlier when we were doing our picks about Tennessee and how the Vols are just, on both sides of the ball look really good right now. But I read earlier that the program is going to add a 10% talent fee to the season ticket prices, obviously to cover some of these NIL deals that they have to have. I would guess most teams are going to have to start doing this if they can find a way and fans don't absolutely lose their minds, or even if they do, fans are going to go. That's the one thing about when you're a college football fan or you're an NFL fan, especially if your team's playing well, you're going to pay for the ticket to get in. But it is interesting because I guess in a way it makes sense. Like, you want us to pay $5 million for this guy to come play. Like, here's a little talent fee added to make sure that we can get the best guys on the roster.
But talent fee, spoken very much like a radio personality there, Taylor Doll.
That's what it's called.
Yeah.
But they're getting paid a lot of money, millions upon millions, hundreds of millions from these TV contracts. Go ahead. That's where you can get it from. The season ticket members are already paying, let's say, $2,000 a year. Now it's going to be $2,200 a year. Like, I feel like that should be optional.
Yeah, because in this, and it says the program will add a 10% talent fee to its season ticket prices, which honestly, it's not some crazy number. If they were getting okay, you're going to have 30% extra on it. But in light of Power Conference athletes likely to become eligible to receive compensation from not just NIL, but also directly from their schools now, the Vols are the first to add a fee, but are definitely not going to be the last, Bruce Feldman says. So it's going to be an interesting thing to keep an eye on which schools. I think the Vols were one of the first ones to really start even taking advantage of the NIL in that way too. So for them to be one of the first ones to start doing this, I'm not surprised. But how many teams will start doing it? How many schools are like, no way, like you can't charge these fans extra money? I feel like, and what if it's what if a school that's not winning? When do fans start being like, why am I paying extra money to support a losing product? So it's going to be a weird balance to see how this kind of all plays out.
I mean, in the years past, really up until the last couple of years, you couldn't charge alcohol at stadiums.
Yeah.
Use that money is what I'd be saying as a fan. Use that money. By the way, I read that the Jaguars beer prices are like the 5th highest in all of the NFL. There's only a few other cities like a San Francisco where it's more, and there's I think are $11.49 per beer. I wouldn't know because I don't get to drink in the press box, obviously, but that is fairly high for a small market. But we'll see as far as the ticket prices are lower, and so that's sometimes the concessions. But yeah, use to me the alcohol money. I'm already paying. Yeah. I'm already paying for parking. Yeah. Obviously for gas to get there. I'm paying for my tickets, which are not cheap these days. So I don't like it, but I understand why they're doing it.
Yeah, same. And that's what, imagine Florida State this year. Imagine if they're like, okay, well, we're paying $12 million to these players, so you're going to have to pay an extra 10% to get in. And then people are like, what players?
Well, and
who are we paying this talent fee to?
Their tickets I assume, are going to go up because that's what usually happens after a stadium renovation is once it's completed, the ticket prices go up, which is what's going to happen. I'm going to guess here too in Jacksonville once the Stadium of the Future is done. I'll cool down with something we started the show with. The Ravens, the Bengals, and the Jaguars are all 0-2. I don't know which one has the best chance to make the playoffs, but as far as the next 4 games, the Bengals have the easiest schedule. All 3, though, I think are desperate going into their Week 3 matchups. All right, I was asked this question on Twitter. Mia, I'll start with you as far as your answer. I'm curious why we don't go back to what worked. This is for the Jaguars. At the end of 2022, beginning of 2023, quick throws to compensate for offensive line. Let wide receivers cook with the ball.
Yep. And if you want to listen to Duval Rundown's Tuesday episode with Gus Logue on demand, it is available at the 1010XL Jaguars YouTube page, as well as the 1010XL Podcast Network. And Gus dives exactly into that. Trevor Lawrence ranked either first or in the top 5 among all quarterbacks last year in short completions, a 0 or 3-step drop, any throw that was between 0 to 15 yards. And I already see, because we posted a clip from Duval Rundown on social this morning, I already see people commenting and saying, yeah, well, he can't make those throws. Well, he did last year. What changed? Because I was told they ran it back with the offensive line. I was told, yes, they substituted Gabe Davis and Brian Thomas Jr. in for Zay Jones and Calvin Ridley, but that's an upgrade. The 3 tight ends are the same. So I don't understand why, if you were able to do it so effectively last year, which part of that, schematically speaking, was especially after the knee injury suffered against the Colts. If you remember, the game plan against the New Orleans Saints was very much, hey, quick, get the ball out as quick as humanly possible. And then, of course, Trevor ran for like a 30-plus yard scramble, and you're like, oh, maybe he is okay. The point
that feels like a lifetime ago.
Right. The point is that they were successful in doing that.
Right.
And while certainly it's not as aesthetically pleasing as a 66-yard bomb down the field to Brian Thomas Jr., number one, as Travis Etienne said to me in the locker room post-game Sunday, you have to look to this quick game at some point or another. And I'm not talking horizontal quick game. I'm talking crossing routes. I'm talking slants. You have to start looking at that because you have to matriculate down the field. You can't be relying on these long developing 50-plus yard plays as being your solution because the odds of them hitting, especially with all of the miscommunication, are so slim.
So if that worked before, why aren't they calling it?
I just think...
And I don't think we have an answer to that, but that's what people are asking.
So that's what Gus was like, I think that they took so much flack for being married to the short game last year, but there's a difference here, folks. Like,
there's also a balance. Like, at some point, you have to have some sort of balance.
Because it opens up that 66-yard bomb. If you are dinking and dunking them, what do you think Tua and Mike McDaniel are doing in Miami?
It's called time of possession. When that goes in your favor, usually you end up on the better side. It's probably like a 60% chance of winning if you control time of possession.
Also, I understand the Jaguars' offensive line is not what anyone wants it to be, but in terms of the run game, and I understand those of you who say, well, the run game is there because teams are putting 4 corners back there and daring them to throw. Sure, but they weren't doing that against Miami in the first half, which arguably was the 2 best quarters they've played through 8 quarters of football this year.
Not arguably.
And they've been averaging 6.6 yards per carry. And if you want to take out the quarterback, it's over 5. So run the ball, matriculate I literally want to get a shirt that says matriculate because Travis Etienne said it like 7 times in his in his availability on Sunday. And so that's where you can marry those two, the quick short game and running the ball together, and it creates those opportunities downfield.
A lot of that yardage is still coming after contact, which I know we had that conversation during the offseason of like how much contact is it actually. But I did see the stat yesterday of the majority of, the Jags successful runs have still been a lot after contact. So there's still things to work on in the run game, but when you are averaging that 5.5, I still think you need to use that to your benefit. I do also think that that's why a lot of people right now are just concerned at like the brokenness all around, because there were certain aspects of the game early last season that you felt like worked. And then the reason we felt like they didn't work late, it was because of injuries and because Trevor Lawrence wasn't 100%. But now you do have a 100% a quarterback that is playing, obviously 100% healthy. You have these weapons that you've said have been upgrades, and you feel like you've backtracked in your offense. So I think there's a lot of things that need to be figured out. I think there's a lot of not fully broken pieces, but bent pieces, not broken pieces that have the ability to be solved, but you have to do it quickly because, as Eric was saying earlier when we were talking to him about this game this weekend with the Bills and the Jags, and you do not want, being 0-3 is not ideal whatsoever. And when you're in that position, especially when you're looking down some of those chunks of games they have in the middle, it's just not the place you want to put in. So at some point, you need to see this offense combine the things that worked last year, and then with the new pieces that you can take advantage of this year with a Brian Thomas Jr. and a Gabe Davis deep.
I wonder if the answer is the offense at the end of 2022 was really, really good, really efficient, and almost, other than a game here or there last year, wasn't that.
Yeah.
The Jaguars were winning, but the offense itself was not an efficient, smooth run offense outside of beating the Colts in Jacksonville. That
so
would be
maybe we need a half. Doug calls 1 half and Press calls 1 half. Maybe that's what we need because that's what was happening.
I did wonder, of course, after Miami, we had the first half where the Jaguars scored 17, the second half where the Jaguars scored 0. Like, are they flip-flopping halves? Because we need to know.
Nobody knows. Well, they need to tell me something. Tell them to call me off air and just let me know something.
I know people are with binoculars watching both Press Taylor and Doug Peterson to try and figure out the mannerisms.
They did this to themselves.
And I understand people are like tweeting at me and adding me and what you need to find. I'm like, You're never going to get it on the record. I'm sorry. You're just not. And you can tell me I'm a bad journalist for not pressuring him. But, like, at this point in time, they've got bigger issues. And certainly this stems, I think, to those bigger issues. Yeah. But at the same time, I mean, play caller or not, like, the miscommunication and the execution on the line has nothing to do with who is saying run this play. Now, lining up in 11 personnel on the 2-yard line, that has to do with the play caller. So, again, you need to get a win. I think this team needs to just taste a win. They need to just get the monkey off their back. I feel like we said that during the 2021 season. Dare I reference that season? But when they started the season 0-5, and it was just like, hey, they got to get a win.
Shake something off. Yeah.
I think it's as simple as that.
Well, it's going to happen in primetime Monday night, kicking off at 7:30 if it happens. As far as this particular game, they're going against a tough Bills team. But again, last year, the Bills were heavy favorites. I don't remember the exact number, but the Bills were definitely favored in London, and I get the change of venue certainly is something, but maybe it is going
and they
to
were
help
not playing good in the first half.
No.
That was like a thing. The Bills, nobody knew how bad they were playing until those couple that game and then the couple after, and then a few games later, their offensive coordinator was fired and everything changed. So it wasn't a Bills team that was playing at a high level last year.
No, but heading into it, the Jaguars had lost to the Chiefs, scored only 9 points. Lost to the Texans, that awful game, scored only 17 points. And then beaten the Falcons, obviously also in London, scored 23. And certainly people thought that they left points on the field. But all right, Mia, we'll next hear from you on Monday.
Yes, I will be back Monday, and we will have the kickoff show, to my knowledge, because I don't believe we will have helmets and heels Monday. But we will have the Terminex kickoff show ready and rumbling for you guys at 2 o'clock.
All right, let's say hello to XL Primetime.
Now, the 2-minute drill, brought to you by Injury Care Centers, the exclusive provider of BioTarget regenerative therapy for pain. Visit GoBioTarget.com for a location near you.
Leon, I know this never happened to you, but we are seeing Anton Harrison, the right tackle, regress after a really good season last year. We saw 2 years ago Luke Fortner had a good rookie season, then regressed last year. How does this keep happening? And again, I know it's hard for you to speak to it because you've never regressed.
No, I didn't never regress, but I've had my moments, though. I've had my moments, and the only way you get better is in practice. I think his technique is being allowed in practice, and it's not being altered, because most of the time the people that go against him in practice are going half speed. So if he's blocking the same way in practice, it's going to show on Sundays. So he's got to fix it. I mean, when practice ends, that doesn't mean you stop working. I mean, if you know you're struggling with your craft, then you go out there after practice, you work on your sets. You do that kind of stuff. You get someone, I used to do this when I had the guys that, speed guys against me. I would get a scout team guy, fast guy, wide receiver, whatever, and I would have him come off the ball and make me work my set angles to help me. He's got to do that kind of stuff, because what he's doing right now, he has regressed, and he's going back to some of his bad ways he started off his rookie year.
I think we need Anton Harrison to call Leon Cersei is what we need.
Well, I'm here. I'm available. I'm in the phone book.
Nervous at all about Miami's upcoming game against USF?
Yes, I am. I'm in no position to feel comfortable about Miami. I mean, I think we're going to win.
That's because the scars.
Yeah.
Nothing they've showed you this season.
I think the bigger thing, Leon, is you don't want to lose to future Florida head coach Alex Golesh. I think that is the real storyline no one's talking about.
Anybody but Lane Kiffin. I don't want Lane in Florida. I know y'all lose.
I've heard you say that.
I really don't.
But
because you know what would happen.
I know what would happen. Hell, I was trying to get Lane when he was at FAU to come to Miami. We went that May, okay?
My fear with Lane, and I like him, but he only lasts at each stop a few years, and then he moves on to the next one. So that's my only concern. But that's a long-term one. All right, what's coming up on the show?
Well, we're going to talk Jags, and we're going to talk about the 0-2 teams. What team has the best chance to pull out of this slump?
All right, sounds good. Thanks, Leon.
Appreciate it.
We'll be listening. There he goes. That's going to do it for us today. For Mia O'Brien, for Taylor Dahl, for RJ Saunders, I'm Lauren Brooks. These heels are made for talking. We will talk to you on Friday, but don't go anywhere. XL Primetime is next.
All over you. Yeah.
This hour of Helmets and Heels is brought to you by First Coast Honda Dealers.
Mia here, and let me tell you, folks, I don't care what anybody says. It's hot outside, and that means